Welcome, everyone. This is Adda Shur, voice coach. Welcome to another brief discussion about performance anxiety, which is a subject that all of us who are attempting or are in a performance career need to deal with. Now, some people get performance anxiety more severe than others, and some people don't. Let's talk about the whole idea of performance anxiety and what this is suggesting and what is it suggesting about that which you're performing. So you really need to be honest with yourself and find out how much of what you're attempting to do as a performer is really authentic to your true talent. In other words, if you are performing with an instrument that really isn't your best instrument, you're going to have perhaps more anxiety than doing something that feels very natural to you, right? So, so let's look again at the instrument that you're using. For example, in my case, I was training for some time as a teen as a violinist. Now, I'd always been on stage, even as a kid, as a singer and a dancer, and I felt very comfortable doing that. Playing the violin, however, really made me anxious, and I experienced nervousness for the first time in my life, where I hadn't experienced that before, singing and dancing as a kid. So, I knew violin for me was harder. I loved it, but it wasn't as natural to me as the singing and the dancing. Nonetheless, I was really into it and doing it. And so I remember becoming quite good at it and doing some performances, and I could barely keep the bow straight. I was so nervous. And that just was so disheartening that it just made it very obvious to me that while I may be good at violin, I was not going to be a soloist. And since I really liked being seen and heard, after some great contemplation and work, again in my teens, I decided, no, I really have to go back to that which I'm comfortable doing, which is singing. I'd also, as a teen, had experiences performing as a singer, and I wasn't particularly nervous. I was energized, but I wasn't as debilitatingly nervous that I couldn't perform properly. So, having grown up in a family of performers and really kind of knowing the sort of stamina and nerves one needs, I did have a little bit of a head start as to knowing, am I suited to be a performer or not? Now, sometimes people are pushed to be a performer and to do, to be out there in the public when that's not really what they want to do. But that's all they know, so they think they have to do that. So, again, this is a discussion that you would do with your teacher or with your acting coach or with, if you have a counselor or your therapist. You just want to explore these things. It's something that I also explore with my students as to whether they have the right personality and the right nervous system to be able to perform. Now, put all that aside, let's look at what we do to control the nervous system so that it isn't overpowered by the excess energy that starts streaming into you, getting you ready to perform. By the way, I do a lot of this on my book, which is called Sopranos Are Not Pianos. How Vocal Magic Happens for Women Singers. This is how I used to spell my name, with an H. So it's kind of a funny logo. It's a short book, and it's got some wonderful little exercise I do, and just sort of general ideas here, and also very profound ideas written in a very simple way that, a 12-year-old could read it nicely, even a 10-year-old. But it's for adults too, and you might want to get this book. It's on Amazon, or if you study with me, I prefer you buy it from me directly. So let's go rambling on some more, shall we? So the idea is, if you have a regular practice with the mind-body exercises that I teach, where you know how to release the tension, for example, just lean forward like this. Lean forward in your chair, keeping your body upright. Lean forward in your chair and put your hands on your upper thighs. Keep your feet flat on the floor and put your hands on top of your thighs, okay? And just lean forward and exhale on F. And wait a moment and then exhale on F. Exhale. Okay, we talked about this before. Good. Now come back up. So there are a number of different exercises I do, such as rocking back and forth in a particular way, exhaling in a special way, humming in a special way, all that starts to tune and rev up your instrument so you can handle the nervous energy. You also have to have practiced your songs for a number of people, as I discussed. And again, if your performance anxiety is debilitating to you, and it's consistently debilitating to you, and when you actually go out and perform, it debilitated and didn't make your performance so good, only you can answer, is this for me or not? Okay? I'm not telling you to quit, because that's not right. Only you can determine if this is something you want to do or not. It is very difficult to perform, much more difficult than people think. So if you don't have kind of a natural constitution for it, it's going to be even harder. You're always going to be nervous. You will never, if hardly ever, be satisfied with your performances. That you have to understand. What we think what we did was a mistake, or we think, oh, I didn't sing as well as I could have. It's possible, but who cares? You know what you can do in studio. The audience doesn't. What you gave them was good enough. You do need to identify what's unrealistic expectation from realistic expectation. And that's something that you learn with experience, and hopefully with your mentors and your coach, your team that's there with you. Even if it's your team is one friend and knows your work, says, you did fine. You might have felt a little catching in your throat. Nobody heard it. I can't tell you how many singer friends I have in career. They need to have that feedback. Many, many times we get off that stage. We can. With time, we know we did a good job or we didn't do such a good job. But we also learn how to deal with that, so we're not falling apart. Oh my God, I didn't do as good. They're not going to like me anymore. Oh, blah, blah, and get into this tizzy of anxiety and depression. That we definitely want help with. Those are, how do we deal with our mind? How are we training on our mind on a daily basis to deal with those sort of false expectations? And that's all part of the spiritual underpinning of singing. Singing really and performing really address and demand an awareness. Unless you're one of these people with very, 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 a placid nervous system, of which there are a few, and very placid mental state, and they can handle it. It's not such a big deal, but that's few. All right, I hope this was of help to you. If you liked it, please like, subscribe, and make a comment. And I have to go now, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks for hanging out with me. And again, comments are welcome. And I hope you have a wonderful day.